Hey, what is up everybody? It's Animac here for Anime Uproar, and today I will be talking about the latest events in the Boku no Hero manga, including new revelations about the secret intel Stain gave All Might. Intel that could be even more important than we imagined. There was also a potentially massive death flag for a major character in the story, and a brand new arc is about to begin, so let's get into it. You guys know the drill. If you enjoy our MHA videos and you want to see more in the future, just leave a quick like and comment. It only takes a second, but it helps with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you watch us but you haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, do me a favor and make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. By the way, we recently partnered with Itaikuji, an online retailer in Japan that makes anime merch that is normally exclusive to Japan, available to fans all over the world. They have a wide selection of awesome anime merch straight from Japan, including an entire section on MHA, which has some of the best MHA figurines I've ever seen, along with a bunch of other awesome stuff. Check them out, link in the description, and because we're partnered with them, you can now use the coupon code AnimeUproar500 for an instant discount. Every time you use the coupon code, you are not only getting awesome merch at a discounted rate, you are also directly supporting this channel, so check them out, link in the description. Finally, this video will of course contain Boku no Hero manga spoilers, so please proceed with caution, you have been warned. The latest chapter starts off with a lighthearted, comedic scene as the Class 1A boys literally carry Deku into the showers, strip him naked, wash him, and throw him into a hot bath. The way this scene is handled is honestly kind of refreshing since the series has been much darker lately, and this is an uncharacteristically lighthearted and quirky moment in the story, both in terms of what's happening and in terms of how it's actually drawn. I mean, I guess this makes sense, since we all know that Deku is exhausted, bruised and bloodied, sweaty, ragged, and so on. But since we've just been reading the manga, we don't have to think about how Deku actually smells after fighting villains for like a bunch of days straight without a break. But his classmates do have to deal with the smell, so a forced shower and bath ends up being the best solution. The one important moment during this bath scene is Bakugo telling Deku and the other Class 1A boys that he still intends to become the #1 hero, and they are still his rivals. That of course includes Deku. Well, Bakugo starts to say Deku, but then he changes it to Izuku, which is of course very symbolic. It symbolizes Bakugo's development as a character, and the development of the friendship between Bakugo and Deku. That said, Deku doesn't really mind being called Deku, and I totally agree with him there. I know the nickname Deku was initially intended to be an insult, but Deku embraced it and owned it so well that it's no longer an insult at all. I mean, Deku even uses the nickname as his hero name, so at this point the word has lost all negative connotations in my mind, and I think Deku feels the same way. Once the Class 1A students are all cleaned up, they gather in the common room where Deku thanks them and apologizes for all the trouble that he has caused them. Several of the classmates ask Deku openly about One for All, and honestly that makes sense. They're all working together now, and it's better for them to know as much about Deku's quirk as possible so that they can be as effective as possible in battle. There is no need for Deku to keep the properties of One for All a secret from Class 1A any longer. In fact, if he continues to keep it a secret, it could actually hinder their abilities to win future battles as a team. As the conversation between the classmates continues, Deku says that there is one thing that is really bothering him, and that is how he treated All Might back when they last met. As you'll recall, Deku told All Might that he doesn't need him anymore, and he left All Might behind in order to continue fighting the villains on his own. Worst of all, he threw away that bento box that All Might had so carefully and lovingly prepared for his son, Deku. But just as Deku is saying all of this, Shoto points out that All Might is actually right there. He's creepily looking into the window from the outside. All Might then runs in and says that he is also sorry that he couldn't have been of any help to Deku. I haven't really stopped to think about this all that much, but it has to be insanely hard for All Might to be in the state that he is currently in. He is virtually helpless to contribute to the fight against the villains, and he is severely limited in his ability to help Deku and the others. All Might spent most of his life being the strongest hero and having the power to help everyone, even in the most dire and difficult situations. And yet, after he lost the ability to use One for All, he became the exact opposite of what he once was. That is quite an adjustment for someone to have to come to terms with, and this can't be easy for All Might. That is especially the case when it comes to Deku. the boy who inherited All Might's quirk and whom All Might mentored for so long. I mean, he even made a promise to Deku's mother that he would protect Deku, so not being able to do that is a very hard pill for All Might to swallow. Naturally, Deku doesn't think that his mentor has to apologize for anything, and All Might then goes on to reveal that he has come across some important new information. And he is referring to the notes that Stain had left him back in the previous chapter. All Might recognizes that he can't do much on the battlefield in his current state, but he vows to keep fighting the villains, even if he has to crawl across the battlefield to do it. He is willing to take any risk in order to nurture the heroic flame burning in the hearts of the Class 1A students. And not gonna lie, this kind of feels like a death flag. Despite being extremely frail in his current form, All Might is vowing to fight even if he has to crawl on the battlefield. Don't get me wrong, I respect his courage and commitment, but it would take the new Shigaraki exactly half a second to absolutely murder All Might in his current state. Unfortunately, I can totally see this weakened All Might sacrificing his life to save Deku and the others at some point in the future, possibly during the last major battle of the entire series. I mean, All Might might survive the end of MHA, but if mentor characters in other anime are any indication, All Might's death is a serious possibility. Anyway, Deku finally admits that throwing away the bento box was wrong, and he acknowledges that the reason he almost died was because he left All Might's side and tried to do everything on his own. As the students agree to protect everyone together, All Might smiles and heads off to meet up with Endeavor. Also, Tokoyami is totally butthurt that his senpai Hawks hasn't been in touch with him, and so he asks All Might to tell senpai to notice him. The reason why Endeavor and Hawks haven't been at UA is the fact that much of the public has lost trust in them as a result of Dabi's big revelations. Shoto vows to take responsibility for resolving the whole Dabi situation, and then Jiro has the brilliant idea to bring back the band from the cultural festival in order to help the evacuees at the UA shelter chill out and relax a bit. The entire class vows to go beyond and push through this difficult time together, and although I personally have no interest in seeing another cultural festival type arc, I'm totally cool with it if it happens off screen while we focus on Stain or maybe the villains. I know that a lot of people really liked the cultural festival arc, and that's cool, but that's definitely not the kind of stuff I look for in a great MHA arc. We then see a conversation between Hawks and Genist, in which Hawks explains that according to the intel that they were able to gather from Ujiko, they still have about a month's time to make the first move before Shigaraki's procedure is completed. However, Endeavor seems to believe that the 1 month timeline is not accurate after seeing the intel provided by Stain. Stain's notes apparently contained the records of the guards at Tartarus. And although we aren't told what exactly the records stated, it is implied that this new information was significant and that it potentially changes the timeline they had for Shigaraki's full recovery. The chapter ends with Endeavor contemplating why a villain like the hero killer Stain, someone he calls All Might's fanatic, would actually be helping the heroes. But I feel like if you know anything about Stain and his ideology and how committed he is to that ideology, you'd know that he was always going to pick the side of the true selfless heroes over the villains. Aside from this though, I am extremely interested in that note. What do the records of the Tartarus guards say, and how exactly does this affect the timeline of Shigaraki's recovery? Could it be that someone at Tartarus was actually a traitor and that they had been working with the villains? Is this what Stain's notes prove? If so, that would be a massive revelation, and it could also finally shed some light into the now infamous UA traitor plot point. If there is a traitor at Tartarus, is he or she connected to the potential traitor at UA? From this chapter, it is clear that Stain's intel is very important and that it is going to have a major effect on the story. The only question now is what exactly the intel says and how it is going to impact the actions of the heroes. I'm getting more and more curious about this intel with each passing week, so I hope we get some new info soon. I'm also pretty curious to explore the inner conflict that villains like Spinner and Toga might feel when they realize that their idol Stain is now actively fighting for the heroes and against the villains. Don't forget that these guys first joined the League of Villains because they were inspired by Stain. So even though they are now loyal to the League and they feel like the other League members are their comrades, it will be very interesting to see their loyalties tested once they are faced with this new villain killer Stain. All in all, I think that this chapter serves as the perfect setup for a brand new arc. An arc that will probably follow the villains for a bit before the plot once again converges on the UA, which I think is the most likely candidate for the final showdown in the story. But let me know what you guys think. Did this chapter foreshadow All Might's death in the near future? And do you think that any major characters like All Might will eventually die in the story? Also, what do you think is going to happen in the next arc, since this Rogue Deku arc has clearly come to an end? Finally, how will Stain's intel about the records of the guards at Tartarus affect the plot in the future? Don't forget to leave your feedback down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this Boku no Hero video and you want to see more in the future, you know what to do. Just leave a quick like and comment. It only takes a second, but it helps a lot. And if you're new to Anime Uproar, or maybe you watch our videos but you haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, do me a favor and make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. Quick reminder to check out Itaikuji, link in the description. Every product that you order with our coupon code AnimeUproar500 directly supports this channel. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys!